Bonjour, ça dépend de l'heure à laquelle vous nous suivez. Nous voici dans votre émission Tout Solo là. Et avant de commencer, n'oubliez pas de vous abonner dans Beyond Limitation TV et n'oubliez pas d'appuyer sur la cloche de notification pour ne manquer aucune de nos vidéos. Aujourd'hui, nous allons parler d'un sujet qui est un peu complexe et compliqué. Mais avant de commencer, je vais demander à mes invités de se présenter. Nous allons commencer à ma droite. Nous avons notre frère qui va se présenter. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Est-ce que vous vous présentez?
Hi everyone. I am Chris Stewart and I'm pleased to be among you this afternoon to share this interesting topic.
Thank you, Chris Stewart. Et puis, pour j'oubliais, nous serons bilingues, donc français et English. Et à ma gauche, nous avons notre demoiselle, très chère demoiselle. Est-ce que vous vous présentez?
Hi guys, my name is Basi Waka, and just like our host Magloria said, today is going to be a very complex topic that we will be talking about. So make sure you guys stay tuned, make sure you guys follow and comment below on what videos you guys would like to see from us. And like she said, today's video is going to be bilingual, so it is going to be mostly in English, but you might hear the occasional French. So, yeah.
Merci beaucoup, Percy Boaka. Our subject for today is a mental health. We are going to talk about mental health. Nous allons parler de mental health, santé mentale, pardon. Avant de commencer, je vais demander à Christy what is a mental health?
Well, mental health is a very vast subject, if I may start with. But it is a state of well-being of a human. That's how I can define mental health. Of course, I'm not going to give a large or a correct definition of what mental health is about.
Yeah.
But I think I'll limit myself to say that mental health is a state of well-being.
Okay. Merci beaucoup, Christy. Percy, what is a mental health for you?
Like Chris said, it's a state of mind, and when you talk about mental health, you need to understand that there is good mental health and then there is bad mental health, right? You can have, same way there's good health and there's bad health physically, same way with your mental state. So your mental state, you can have a good mental state where you're happy, everything is balanced. But if you have a bad mental state, then I'd say, for my personal definition, you'd say that there is some sort of imbalance there. So you might be more sad than you are happy, but it's not balanced. Because at the end of the day, you need to understand that, like, throughout our mental state, yes, you're going to be happy, yes, you're going to be sad, but it's very much balanced. If the majority of your emotion is sadness, then that's not balanced, which will then cause a bad mental state. So that would be my definition.
Thank you so much. Vous avez bien écouté la définition de santé mentale, mental health, selon notre frère Christy et notre sœur Percy Boaka. Why is it important to talk about mental health?
Mental health is really a substantial subject to talk about because it's part of our daily life.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be active mentally, strong mentally to achieve the various challenges of life. As I said before, mental health is an issue that did not start nowadays. It started since the creation of the world.
Yeah.
And the mental health professional by excellence is himself God the creator. Because see this example that I just bring up quickly of Jacob. We went through a lot of mix of feelings throughout his life. The way you understand the way he was trying to cope with his mental health issue. They killed one of his sons. Actually, they didn't kill one of his sons, but they just took his garment, his coat, they dip in the blood, they bring to Jacob, saying that, check if this is not your son's garment. Jacob just look at the cloth and goes like, oh, my son is dead. He must have met, that's called in PSTD, something like that, post-traumatic.
PTSD.
Yeah. Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
If you check, you'll see that Jacob had that kind of trauma because I'm not blaming him, but it's just an example that I'm bringing up to show how we're going through this stage of mental health each day of our life. Because how come, Jacob, you're a shepherd of goats, of animal, everything, and they just do. There should be a difference between a human blood and an animal blood. So if you check properly, Jacob could notice that no, this is not my son's garment. It's not this is not my blood's garment. It's not my blood coat. But he just went like, okay, I lost my son. Why? Because his decision making was already affected.
Yeah.
And this is what also happening nowadays with us. Our decision making is affected because the way we think, the way we act, and the way we react is already affected. So we really need to take good care of our mental so that we can be efficient in our decision making. That's what I can say also to give my sister the word to explain.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. Percy, what is important to talk about mental health?
It's important to talk about mental health because, like, it is on a rise, right? There's more mental health, like, issues occurring, and there's also, like, higher suicide rates. And kind of linking with what you said, if your mental health state is not good, then it kind of influences your decision-making skills, right? And if you see someone who goes through so much trauma and they go through so many things, then obviously, yes, their decision-making skills is already being affected. But if it's left unchecked and it's left without therapy or without talking to people, then it results into people committing suicide. Do you know what I mean? So, and also I feel like it's important to talk about it to bring awareness, because I feel like you can't solve an issue which is not highlighted. You can't solve an issue which is not spoken about, because it's like, how can you solve a mental health issue when people don't even know what mental health is? You know, people won't even get a diagnosis on mental health. They're just going to be thinking, why do I feel like this? And because they can't bear what they're feeling, because they can't explain what they're feeling, or they feel alone, then they turn to suicide. And if we're looking at it biblically, if you look at Judas, who betrayed Jesus, right? He's betrayed Jesus, and now he's overcome with guilt, and he doesn't know what to do with this guilt. So instead of talking to somebody, or instead of forgiving himself, which is what a lot of issues, like a lot of mental health issues, I guess, sometimes comes from not forgiving yourself or being too harsh on yourself. So it's like, because their decision-making skills has been affected, they're now deciding to be harsh on themselves. They can't handle their emotions, and they think, well, if I can't handle it, I guess the only way that I can handle it is if I go in and commit suicide. You know, so it's important to talk about it, to raise awareness, to let people know that yes, mental health is a real thing and you can get help for it.
Thank you so much, Percy. I'm going to start with Chris. He said something is very important. He gave an example of Jacob in the Bible. He said Jacob, because of her mental health, Jacob couldn't identify the blood, that the blood was between the blood of human and the blood of animals, because Jacob knows that difference. Jacob passait plus de temps avec de moutons, mais il n'avait pas pu faire cette différence entre le sang d'un animal et le sang humain, parce que Jacob était traumatisé quand on lui avait juste montré l'habit de son fils. On a juste trempé ça dans le sang. Il n'a même pas eu le temps d'identifier, de faire cette différence que ce n'était pas le sang. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il était déjà affecté. Et Percy, say something important as well. Il sait, si ta santé mentale n'est pas bonne, ça affecte aussi les décisions que tu vas prendre. Donc c'est très important. Et à la fin, elle a mentionné quelque chose sur suicide. Et sur ce qu'elle a dit, ça m'amène directement à faire cette différence. Je ne sais pas si vous pouvez m'aider. If you can help me when you say about suicide. Why? It's the things like I saw here in England. Why people, I'm talking about teenagers, young people, sometimes it's easier for them to make suicide just because, for example, the boyfriend just break up the relationship, just the small things. They become depressed, they are feeling lonely, a lot of things. Par rapport à Kinshasa, au Congo, pourquoi est-ce que vous pouvez me donner des raisons? Pourquoi il y a cette différence? Parce qu'au Congo, nous voyons la façon dont nous avons grandi, parce que moi aussi j'ai grandi au Congo. Apparemment, les gens, les enfants qui grandissent au Congo sont un peu forts par rapport à ceux qui sont ici. Ça, c'est mon opinion, s'il vous plaît. Comparativement à ce que j'ai vu ici. Qu'est-ce qui fait cette différence? Ici en Europe, donc, c'est un peu. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Quelle est la différence? Qu'est-ce qui fait en sorte que, au Congo, je vais donner un exemple pour être très précis. Par exemple, un enfant au Congo qui vient de perdre son père ou ses parents, au moment où vous allez se sentir non, nous a traumatisé, tout ça là, mais il va s'élever pour abunda parce que mes parents vont s'atter. Et nous voyons d'autres enfants qui commencent à vendre des choses juste par exemple pour aider ses frères, ses soeurs. Mais ici, c'est différent ici en Europe. Comparativement aux enfants qui vivent ici en Europe, ils ont tout. Mais, mental health, est-ce que, can you explain me, what is that difference?
Ouais.
Qu'est-ce qui fait cette différence?
En tout cas, there is a good part, there's a good side of things, but there is also a bad side. I would say, like, for instance, in Africa, because I was born in Africa, obviously, so I know. I would say, like, in Africa, we don't really appropriate access to care when it comes to mental health.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that there's no mental health in Africa. Yes, mental health has been ongoing in Africa for so long. But the problem is just that there is no light on that side. I mean, there is no funding when it comes to mental health. So most of the time, whenever a person goes through mental health issues, they think straight away that this is a spiritual issue. That's why you see in Africa we have plenty of churches. Most of churches are just dealing with mental health people and people who have mental health issues. To be honest, if you go make a survey and do some statistics, you'll realize that most of these people do not actually have spiritual problems. Because African and Congolese people, we pray to God, we pray a lot, we love God. If you love God, if you give your life to Christ, for instance, you don't have any spiritual problem again. But the problem lies with your soul, with your mental, the way you think in yourself. Like my sister, she gave an example of Judah. Judah had no problem because he already asked for forgiveness and Jesus died for him at the cross. But still, he went and killed himself. He still feels guilty about his life. He went and takes out his own life. Why? That's the problem with us in Congo or in Africa, let's say. People have a lot of mental health issues, but they're just linking it to spiritual. And now pastors, most of the pastors in Africa, they are like mental health professionals, trying to cast out all those demons, all those things. While some people just see, for example, see what God did when Jacob had these mental health issues. God, being the mental health professional by excellence, he just listened. Like you have to listen what the problem. That's what's happening in therapy. When someone comes for mental health, because there's no medicament, there is no medication, they'll just listen to you, listen to your body, because you have to speak out all that you have in your heart. Try to release it, to release. So this the same applies to Jacob. When he cried that time that his son was dead, God did not even intervene. Same with Elijah, same with all those people, because God will just leave you that way. Because that's not a spiritual thing; it's a mental problem. A mental problem, the only way you can overcome it is by the own strength that God has already given to you. So which means you have to work on yourself. That way the Bible says, strengthen yourself and be courageous, be strong. Because it's by being strong yourself that you overcome this issue. So when it comes here, like in Europe and in Western world, you see that there's a lot of funding or resources available for mental health issues. So they know exactly that this is not a spiritual problem. They've already put an emphasis on that. They've already put a light on that, knowing that this is not a spiritual problem, really, it's a mental health issue. But just that now the problem is that there is this increase, which means the therapy is not even doing enough when it comes to mental health. Why there is increase? It's also because they just put so much inside or so much meaning on that it's just starting to get out of proportion. That's what I would say for now.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I will come back to you because this is something that's very important as well. Persid, can you make that difference in Congo or Africa and here?
Going off of what Chris said, in the UK you have things like therapy, and therapy isn't as frowned upon in the UK compared to Congo, because see, I wasn't born in Congo, but I know that there is this, I guess, African mentality, not just in Congo, that is, I have to be strong. Do you see what I mean? So going to therapy, to some people, they see it as a sign of weakness. Do you get what I mean? It's like, oh, if you go to therapy, then you're weak. So what they do is that they just kind of keep their emotions in. They still have mental health issues. They don't talk about it. That's the thing. They keep it in, and then slowly it starts to seep in with their parenting style. Do you get what I mean? So you have like African parents who are now raising their children with the trauma that they went through, because they haven't spoke about it. So sometimes, like, you could say that, like, yes, maybe mental health is more, I guess, prominent in the UK, but it's because I feel like people in the UK, they go more for help. They go to therapy more, so it's recorded more. But in Congo, it's like, oh, if I go there, then people are gonna think I'm not strong, or people are gonna see that there's a problem with me, or people are gonna think that I'm attacked by a demon, and it's like all of these things about...
Sorry, you're talking about mentality.
Like mental health, like when it comes to like depression and stuff like that. When it comes to, for example, if you have like depression or anxiety, in the UK they'll tell you go to therapy, you know, talk about it, you find help. Sometimes they'll prescribe you with medication or whatnot. But in Congo, first of all, are there even facilities like that? And two, even if they are people comfortable to go there? Because it's like if they go there, then it's like, oh, now people are going to know that I have problems. And if people know that I have problems, now they're like, oh, that's too shameful, so they hide it. Which doesn't mean that British people have more mental health. It could be equal. It's just that British people are more open to go and receive that help. And you said something about like how somebody in Britain, like they might get depressed because, for example, they break up with their boyfriend or something small like that. But at the same time, I feel like it depends on the person, not even the culture, but the person. Because maybe to that person, that boyfriend that they had is the only person that they have in their life. Right? They might not have no family, no friends. They're codependent. They depend on that one person. And when that one person is gone, they feel depressed. Now, if you look at it, when Jesus died on the cross, right, there was 3 hours where God left him, right, when he was on the cross. And on that cross, he felt very, like, heartbroken. He felt all those emotions. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, for Jesus, God is the only person that he knows. So if you apply it to us, you can have someone where this person is the only person that I know in my life. If they leave me, what else do I have? Like, what's the point in me living? So to other people, it's like, oh, but that's something small. That's just a boyfriend. But to them, it's like, no, but that's not just a boyfriend to me. That's the only person that I have in my life. And if they're gone, then I'm completely alone. Do you know what I mean? So it very much depends on the person and the circumstances behind what is going on. Because to someone, it might seem little, but to somebody else, it might seem like a big, huge thing. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Percy. I will come back to you as well. Let's start with Chris. About you say like there's no funding in Congo just to deal with mental health. Do you think like because there's no funding, that's why people think like there's no mental health in Congo?
Why?
Because in Europe here, there's a funding, there's a lot of facilities, so it's easier for them to go somewhere they can go for the counseling. They know where to go and what to do when they got that program, when they feel like they are not feeling well or they got mental health, so if they got a problem. So in Congo, when you say there's no funding, do you think that because there's no funding, that's why people in Congo, they think like it's a spiritual issue?
Well, it's all about also awareness, because people have to know. Someone may be going through mental health issues, but they don't know that what I'm going through now is just a mental health issue, it's not a spiritual issue. So it's first of all about awareness. So for even people to start raising awareness, there has to be, access to facilities, access to care, because the problem is, I want to come back to what my sister just said a few times earlier. We need, first of all, people going through mental health issues need to be understood, because they go through a lot. And it's something that most of the time we take for granted. When you see someone going through a mental health problem, you just go like, just because of that. Well, she said it right. Because that's maybe someone's word. It may mean nothing to you, but to him,
It's dependent on the person.
it's really a problem. And even God knows about that. Just see the example of Elijah in the Bible. When Elijah went to God and said, God, please, he went through a lot, that guy. He was like, the fire just came down, but he went down, he said, God, please kill me. Why? Because I'm left alone. That's what Elijah saw. And that's what people going through mental health also thought, that because that's the reality. No, it might not be the truth, but it's the reality of the moment. Elijah was like, God, I went through a lot. They have killed all of your prophets. I have remained alone. That's what she just said right now. Because I'm remained alone. Elijah thought he was alone. He was alone. Why in reality, in fact, he was not alone. But did God condemn Elijah? Did God blame Elijah? No. Instead, he sent, how do you call this, corbeau, il a envoyé le corbeau pour venir lui donner à manger, tout ça. Pourquoi? Et puis le Seigneur était en train d'entendre tout ce qu'Élie disait. Il entendait, même quand il est venu vers Élie, il n'est pas venu comme un feu de bas, he came like a breeze, like, quietly. Because he know that this guy is going through mental health issues. And he needs quiet time. He needs to be understood. You understand? That's also the problem now with us in Congo. When I said because of lack of funding, I would say yes. Because if we focus on that, we put a lot of fund on that to raise awareness, we come to understand that, so most of the time people will just run up and down to churches. Instead, most of them are just mental health.
Do you think?
I mean, that's my view.
Okay.
That's what I think. Because most of the people you see that, no, this is not a spiritual problem. You see like someone, for instance, crying for marriage, thinking it's a spiritual problem. Every day she's praying for marriage.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. Persid, you said sometimes in Africa, people are thinking like going for therapy. People they are going to think like they are weak. They will think that is the reality. Because here, going to the therapist becoming like, it's like something like normal, like people are living with mental health. Yeah, it's true we got problem every day, but in England it's becoming like, it's not because they got facility or they got all those, they got funding from them, so even they just lost the pen, they go to a therapy. They just saw it later, they go for therapy. So do you think like, because like you said, people in Africa, they think like going to the therapy, people will think like they are weak?
Like for British people, like do British people think going to therapy is weak?
No, you actually say people in Africa. So it's like that is a mentality. So
yeah.
People in Africa, they got that mentality like, no, if I go and I tell the doctor that I got a mental health, I can't do this, I can't do this. So they will think like I'm mad, I can't tell people, I will hide it. So it's like people are going to think like they are weak. So that's why they are hiding.
I 100% think so, because I just feel like even if you look at the way Congolese or African people are raised, it's raised, if you cry, I'll slap you, right? Crying is just a sign of weakness. right? It's like, oh, why are you crying? Oh, don't cry, don't cry. Oh, be strong, be strong. Look, you have siblings watching, like looking up to you. Don't cry. So when you keep instilling, especially because when you look at children, right, the early stages of a child, that builds their way of thinking, right, their sense of self. So if you keep on telling a child, oh, don't cry, you have to be strong, you have to be strong, they'll grow up with this mentality of, I need to be strong. So when they feel sad, what they do is they just bottle their emotions up, right? I know this because I can speak for personal experience, right? Because I know for myself, from aunties, parents, uncles, everything, because I'm the oldest, it's always like, Belsie, you're the oldest, you have younger siblings, you have to make sure that you're always on point because they're looking up to you. You get all these pressures that are on you, and it's like, you don't have a chance to be weak, right? Same with people in Congo, like, especially because say if you like somebody in Congo loses their parents, the older sibling has to take control, right? But that's why a lot of the time you'll see that the older sibling, they rarely cry, they're very strict, they're very harsh, it's because at the end of the day, I need to make sure that I'm stood up, to make sure that everybody else, like my siblings and everyone who comes after me, is good. So because I need to be so strong, I can't allow myself to be weak. And if I do feel weak, then I won't allow myself to feel those emotions. I'm just going to push it aside because I don't have time to deal with that. I have to be responsible, right? And I feel like when it comes to Africa, it's more about duty than it is emotion, right? I need to do my duty as an older sister. I need to do my duty as a mother, regardless of how I feel, right? So when you get to the UK, it's more about, tell me how you feel. How does this make you feel?
So do you think like people in Africa don't have emotion?
No, I think they have emotion, but I think that the way that they've been raised, it's very much to hide your emotions, right? It's very much like when you're in public, you hide your emotions. If you feel sad, you can always cry at home when nobody is there.
Okay, thank you. I think we come back again for this subject because, like I said in the beginning, this is a complex subject. I think we have to come back again for that. Vous avez tous écouté ce que notre soeur, notre frère nous ont dit. Ils ont essayé un peu de donner leur opinion et à nous expliquer et surtout encore de faire la différence. On nous a parlé à notre frère Chris qui nous a dit parce qu'il n'y a pas le funding, donc en d'autres termes, ils n'ont pas mis toutes ces facilités donc, pour permettre aux gens qui ont des problèmes mentaux pour aller là-bas. C'est pourquoi ils partent dans des églises. Donc, en réalité, ce ne sont pas des problèmes spirituels, ce sont des problèmes mentaux. Donc, c'est ce que notre frère a dit. Et notre sœur a dit, oui, beaucoup des Africains, pour ne pas dire des Congolais, pensent que quand tu as un problème mental, ils pensent que non, tu es faible. Ils préfèrent pleurer en cachette que d'exprimer, de montrer. Et la différence est que, ici en Europe, précisément en Angleterre, ils expriment, ils montrent leurs émotions. Mais nous, là-bas en Afrique, au Congo, ils cachent leurs émotions et pour montrer qu'ils sont forts. Nous allons revenir encore, faute de temps, nous allons encore revenir. Merci beaucoup, Chris. Merci, thank you, Percy. I think we come back again to finish that subject because it's really important.
Sure, okay.
With all these examples you are giving in the Bible, that's really, really good. So I think we have to come back again. I don't know if you have something to say just before we finish.
Well, all I can say is that we know life is beautiful, life is good.
Yeah.
And we're going to be strong, first of all, for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because nobody's coming to save us. We need to be strong. We may feel this sense of disconnection from others or lack of meaning, but I would just advise you or recommend you to be strong, and everything shall pass, because what we may see, something may be a reality, but not the truth. So let's keep that in mind.
Thank you, Grace. You have something to say?
What I could say is, for those who are struggling with mental health, to know that you're not alone, right? You can feel like you are alone physically, but at the end of the day, just know that there is always God. And he said he'll never leave you nor forsake you. And he says, come as you are. So even if that means you're broken or you've got all these emotions that you don't know what to do, whether it's anger, sadness, depression, anxiety, he said, come to me as you are. You know, so just go to God with everything that you have, everything that you're feeling, every single emotion, go to him. And at the end of the day, he created you, so he knows how to fix you. you know, so that's my advice.
Thank you so much. Merci à tout le monde. Comme je l'ai dit, nous allons revenir encore pour finir ces sujets parce que c'est tellement complexe. Merci à tout le monde. N'oubliez pas de vous abonner sur Beyond Limitation TV et n'oubliez pas d'appuyer sur la cloche de notification pour manquer aucune de nos vidéos. Merci beaucoup. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.